Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. You know, I deal with instruments all the time and I love them and I play them and they're a lot of fun and I can teach music with them. I tend to lump the instruments into what I call the melody flutes. So what would include the melody flutes? Well, the ocarinas, the melodicas, which I don't have here today, but I will bring them in, and the song flutes, the tonettes, the recorders, and there's a whole group of instruments. I have probably about 300 instruments or so in my collection now. Most of them I can play. Some of them have been damaged and I can't play them, but most of them are quite playable. Some of them are a little off key. Most of them are in perfect pitch, because if you get a good recorder, it will be in perfect pitch. And I've been able to play all kinds of classical music. I arrange music for these instruments and I can play a lot of solos with them. And they all come in different colors and sizes. And so I decided today that I would bring a group of them in so you would be able to see the variety. Now bear in mind, since I have about 300 instruments, you're not going to see but a small section, as much as I could carry. I can remember when I first started the show, and this was a few years back. I've been on the air for quite a while, and the person who was the director here said, well, let's do a trial run. Let's see if you can do it, because I'd never done television before. I'd been televised, but I had not had my own show. So we were going to do a trial run. Well, I brought in 75 instruments. I don't know where I put them all. It's a small studio, but we had 75 instruments, and I went through them all. And he said it was so good, why don't I do a second show? So just spontaneously off the top of my head, I did a second show. This is for the first two shows that I ever did on television. But I'd like to have you see the varieties of the instruments that I have, because some of them are rare and you won't be able to see them any other place except if you see them because somebody has them. So I am going to gradually bring them in, but I thought today I would bring in some recorder and recorder-like instruments, and as I said before, I put them in the category of the melody flutes, and of course that would also include the flute itself and the piccolo and various instruments that have to do with that kind of music. So let me first of all, I'll just show you a few in color. Some of them can be unusual. Some of them play well, some of them don't. These two, and you know, I think I'm going to move this. It'll be easier to show you. If you look at this one, orange and green, two of my favorite colors. The same company puts out this one, pink and blue, kind of aqua-like. And sometimes they play well. I've come back from high-risk surgery. I'm not supposed to be playing yet. I'm just going to toot a little on it. I can't play too much because my voice hasn't quite recovered. But this would sound the same way. So these are two of the colorful ones. I've got a lot more, of course. This is a Peruvian flute, also a melody flute, and it's all red. I have a green one too, all made out of bamboo and hand carved. So why is this important? It's very important culturally. They're beautiful, they play well, and since they're bamboo, you have to be careful because bamboo splits very, very easily. And if you look, and I don't think we're going to be able to pick this up, but maybe you can, and that's the fact that there's a crack. When these countries make these instruments, sometimes they're not too careful. The wood is not terribly thick. And if you're not careful and play them too much, what you're going to get is a crack in them because it's bamboo. I have bamboo instruments that won't crack because the wood is thicker and it's been treated and all of that. But some of these less expensive ones, there is a crack right here, and it goes right down to the labium and goes down from there. These cracks will get worse with time, so I don't play this instrument anymore. So that's a Peruvian flute, and it has the characteristics of a recorder. They're all somewhat alike. They have the same kind of mouthpiece. They have the same kind of fingering pattern, and they're fun to play. Now, I have a lot of instruments in the brighter colors, just because I like them. Red and blue. And that blue is a very beautiful shade. That blue is not my favorite color. These are produced by the same company, and the company is First Note. And when you pick it up, I picked these up in a hobby shop. I have a black one just like it. And the notation says that these instruments are not toys. And they're really right, because I can play them. They're in perfect pitch. The octaves are a little bit wonky to try to get. You know, they're not stable. But for the most part, they play as well as any other recorder. They're just a little bit harder to play and a little bit harder to tweak to get them to play. But they're really not toys, as the package says. And they're not that expensive, and they're really nice instruments. I could teach a person to play with these. And I have. Then I have the orange and the yellow, two of my favorite colors. I don't know how well these play. I'm just going to blow a few notes on them. They're not going to write home about it, but they are really very nice to look at. A lot of kids play them, but they're melody flutes. They create sound, and they look just like recorders. Now, a good recorder will break apart in 3 pieces. You can't do it with these because they're made as a one-piece instrument. However, they do look like you could pull them apart with the head joint up here, the body down here, and the foot joint. And that's the way recorders are made. Now, little ones sometimes only have 1 piece, and sometimes they don't have 3 pieces, and even expensive instruments sometimes don't have 3 pieces, but most recorders do. So I wanted to bring in the colors now. A wooden one. This is a German-made flute, and it works very, very well. And it's made out of just plain wood. I don't know what kind of wood this is. It's not going to crack, and it's very, very old. And it's made in Germany. It has a good tone. This is called a Sonata. The brand name on it is Sonata from West Germany. Then we have recorder-like instruments. I also call them melody flutes, but they're not really recorders, but they operate on the same principle. Here's a yellow one. This is called a magic flute, also produced by First Note, I think. And you have different colors, bright colors. Kids love colors, but I've had a lot of people comment to me that they like to see the colors of my instruments, which is another reason why I brought them in. These play well. These play in pitch, and I've used them before in orchestras, so this is just not just a little dinky toy. This actually works well. The yellow one and the red one, and there are other colors as well, but I brought these 2 in. And even though they're not recorders, they operate on the same principle. They have the labium, they have a Fipple mouthpiece, they have a labium. There would be a block in the inside, although you can't see it, because without the block it wouldn't play. And so it goes along with the same construction, basically, as a regular recorder does. Very nice little instruments. Let's see, I have a group here that you can see through, so I'm going to pick these up. Here's one, and it does play some. Here's the blue one, made by the same company, and you can see right up. You know, they're like almost transparent. You can see right through them. Why would I want an instrument that you can see through? If I'm going to teach how they construct it, it's nice to be able to see it. These 2 you can see through. I have a number of others that you can see through. This does not play well, but it's one of my favorites because I can easily teach the construction of the instrument, and it's kind of clear plastic, so you can see right through it. And it gets a little thick where the joints are, but that's all right, it would, and that's perfectly clear. The instruments that I teach and the instruments that I work with are simple. Here's a little pink one. Excuse me. Then we have the purple one, which I like very much. This is styled a little different. It's obviously a one-piece, but it's a beautiful instrument and it's sparkly too. I have a group of them that have sparkles on them. They're just built right into the plastic. And this, I don't know if you can catch it, but it does sparkle a little bit. It's a beautiful shade. And these, and also you can see through it, kind of aqua and kind of a gold color, and you can see through them. So there's a bunch. Now what I want to do, there's a lot more that I have them in all kinds of colors and sizes and shapes, but what I want to do is talk to you about the recorders that people use for regular work and regular professional work. There are about 6 of them. This is a sopranino. This is a very expensive, very nice little sopranino. Sopranino is the smallest recorder instruments that are used for professional work. It can play beautifully. It's in the key of F. And that means if I want to play a bass solo, I sometimes will write it for a sopranino because the bass is also in the key of F, and it's easier to write it for this than handle a huge basis of writing a piece. But there it is, a sopranino. They're about 9.5 inches long. I'm going to go over this after I show them to you. This is the melody, the soprano, which I use a lot. It's in the key of C. And that's very, very handy because I can take a piece of music and I don't have to transpose the key to play it. I just play it like it's written. And you'd be surprised how much a little instrument like this can play. This is what most people actually do play. They play the soprano, and most people who use recorders use this one. It's a very nice one. They can play in the key of C, D, F, and B flat. I've done all of that. I've actually done it in the key of E flat, but that's 3 flats, and it takes some tweaking to do this. Now this is an alto. The largest one I brought today is this alto. And it's a beautiful instrument. It has a beautiful tone. It's also in the key of F. So you can get the key of F for the sopranino and for the alto and for the basses. The C, the melody recorder is in the key of C, and so is the tenor also in the key of C. So here we are. It has larger finger stretches, so you may have a little trouble if you can't stretch your fingers, but it's a very beautiful instrument, beautiful tone. I have some that are brown, and I have this one that's kind of a cream color. So I have 3 of these altos, and they're all put to good use, and they're very, very fine instrument. This is a Yamaha. Now, what I want to show you is this picture. This is a tenor. I couldn't bring it in. I do have a couple of tenors. I wanted to bring in this picture so you could see the size of it. It's really quite a bit longer than even the alto recorder. And it's got a beautiful, beautiful alto voice to it. Some of these instruments have voices. And for the wooden instruments, when the voices get older, when the instrument is older, they can be repitched. They can be retuned again to bring their voices back again. I know it sounds odd, but as they get older, sometimes the wooden ones need to be worked with so that they can revoice them. Now, let me give you, and I'm going to read this off. The soprano, well, let me start with the sopranino. This is a sopranino. I just want to give you some facts about it. The sopranino is 9.5 inches long, key of F, very high pitch though, because of its size. The shorter the instrument, the higher pitch it's going to be. The larger the instrument, the deeper pitch it's going to be. So that is the sopranino. The soprano is sometimes also called the descant, and it's a melody instrument. It's 12.5 inches long. It's in the key of C, and it can play anything. When I say anything, within the keys that it is able to play, it's able to play very complicated music. I do the Messiah on this every year. I can arrange for it. So these instruments, they can play a lot of music, even though they're limited in a way. They don't have keys, they don't have side keys, you know, they don't have places for sharps and flats and all of that. But within the scope of what they can do really quite a bit. So that would be the descant. The alto is sometimes called the treble, and it's called a principal instrument, the key of F. You know, great composers like Bach, Handel, etc., they wrote music for the alto, and it was included in the orchestras. A lot of sonatas were written for alto. These are 18 inches long, and the sopranos, which I just showed you, is about 12.5 inches long. These are 18 inches long. Now, I showed you the picture of the tenor over here. It's much bigger. It's a melody instrument. It's 25.5 inches long, and it's used in ensembles. It's also in the key of C. So most of these instruments that are recorded are going to be in the key of C, or they're going to be in the key of F. Now we have the bass instruments. The bass instruments, I didn't bring it in. It's very, very large, and it's going to be at least 36 inches, but some of the great basses are as much as 54 inches. I'm going to, in a couple of weeks, try to bring that in. But it's in the key of F, and I do have here pictures of a bass. I'm going to just hold it up so you can see what these basses are like, because I do have what's known as a folded bass, and the folded bass is curved on top. Well, here's the great bass. If I can just hold this picture and you can get a picture of it. It's very, very, very large. Some of them, as I said, are up to 54 inches. And that thing coming out of the top of it is called a bocal. That's where you blow into it. And at the bottom of it, although I don't notice I have it sketched here, they have a little metal piece that sticks out, and it goes on the floor. This is tall enough so you play it standing up, and it rests on the floor, but you don't want the instrument on the floor, so it has a little metal piece that it rests on when you put it on the floor. They can be huge, and the reason I don't have one is the fact that they cost thousands of dollars. And I could not afford that. And I think, oh, here's what I want to show you. My bass is called a folded bass, and I've made a sketch of it. There it is. It has a fold on the top of it. That's why it's called the folded bass. So it's not quite as long as some of the others that are the straight basses, where that folded bass that folded piece would go straight up. So here we have the folded bass, and it's beautiful, an absolutely beautiful tone. You have to play it with a neck strap, and it's quite large, 36 to 54 inches, depending upon whether it's folded or whether it's a straight bass or great basses. They are wonderful instruments, and I do want to bring that in. I'll probably bring it in a couple of sessions so you can see it, because I'm going to bring in the sections of the instruments that I have so you can take a better look at them. So I don't want to have my voice die. So the way that the instruments are constructed, they are constructed so that they are basically tubes. Let me see. I think I'll show you on this one. They're basically tubes and nothing in them, but there's a little block. And when you get that little block, that squeezes the air, so when you blow it in the top, the air goes down, and then it goes out this labium. If you just blow into a tube, what are you going to hear? You're going to hear air going through a tube. You're not going to get any tone. So the air has to be squeezed and has to be forced in a little area where it can make sound. And so they do it with a block. You can't see it, but if I were to pull this instrument apart, I could get so far and I couldn't get any further. So the air goes into the top, that's the fipple right here, the fipple mouthpiece, and then it goes down here. You can see, I think if I hold it like this, you might be able to see the block a little bit. It's going to look like a darker shadow. It's made out of plastic, the same element as the instrument is made out of. Let's see if we can get this set up. Huh?
Hold it right there.
That's it. You can see it a little bit. See the shadow in the middle? That shadow in the middle is the block. If I turn it around, there, you can see it there. You can see, if I hold it there, that air that I put here would be squeezed down in the center right there, and the labium is right below it. That's what, so if I were to stick a piece of metal up, I could get to that point, and I couldn't get it any higher. I couldn't get it any higher. It wouldn't go all the way. The rest of it is basically a tube, as you can see. That's the way they constructed, but the amazing thing is the amount of music that they produce. They produce an amazing amount of music. You can play, and you can play well, and they're accurate for the most part, and you can get them for not too expensive a price. Even good ones aren't that expensive, although you also can pay hundreds of dollars for them. So I'm going to close it here before my voice completely dies, and we're going to look into more about the recorder and how it's made, and also into legend notes, which we'll do next time. So please join me next time.